Peace and love. What up, though? What it do? What's popping? What's cracking? What's happening in time 9, time 10? Had to cut that short. Want to get too carried away, you know what I'm saying? We got our special guest in the house, the Empress, the Huntress. Ooh. Yeah, some of you may know her as the Huntress. You know what I'm saying? I know her as a woman of multiple schools of thought from beginning to end, as long as we've been, communicating by way of this social media, being that she's on the West Coast.
Yep.
in Cali, in young California, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Cali. Right. We know what that's about. And,
yes.
We're going to get into it and get on top of, some of these struggles that we are having in between the sexes or whatnot. We have what they have called a manosphere. Is that how you say that?
That's what they're calling it. Yes.
Then we have sisters that are on the deep end that are, spewing hate towards the opposite sex, and we want to let the audience know that that's not what we're doing here this evening, right?
Right.
If you're gonna learn some things about women or females, it's best that you learn it from a woman.
Absolutely.
There's too many men out here right now, dictating or making accusations about what women do and what we don't do and what we like and what we don't like. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Absolutely.
And people are blindly following it to the tune of, we have brothers that are, can I say this? They're like jockeying the Donald, the J, and the Trump. You know what I'm saying? That goes to show how far they're going with the.
Right.
Can I say it? Can I say penis writing? I mean, I thought that's what we're supposed to do as women. We're supposed to write the phallus.
Right.
We're supposed to be on top of that. It's not. Things are very unbalanced at this moment, to the point of when we, interject to make corrections, we get called derogatory terms such as feminist. Like, we're supposed to get offended when somebody call us a feminist. And, you're following the white feminists who told so-called melanated women to kick the man out the home so that we can get welfare. And all of this, this is just donuts to me, because my maternal grandparents were married until they passed over, peace be upon them, and my paternal grandparents were married, and neither family was on the welfare,
right.
So, on one side, I have aunties that we didn't know existed by way of my paternal grandfather. You see what I'm saying? He still got out and did his thing, and was able to take care of, multiple households. You see what I'm saying? And keep it, a secret. You see what I'm saying? Just imagine how old my paternal auntie and uncle is at this current time, as to where they didn't find out these things until after my grandpa passed. You see what I'm saying? So as far as the financial support, it remained in play. I don't want to do too much talking. I want to get some, let you, give us a little bit of information about yourself and, your background. You can introduce yourself too, because I don't want to mess up your name. I mean, your title. Got the Huntress portion right. I got the Huntress portion right.
Yes, Huntress. Yeah. So, so I guess I could start with the name, Huntress Obscura Femenina. I found that, first, Huntress is my archetype. And when I first started, along on my journey of getting more into the occult and the spirituality and stuff like that, one of the things that was advised to me was you need to find out what your archetype is. And so within that study of finding out what my archetype is, I started noticing all of the characteristics that resonated with me in the archetype of the Huntress, right? And so I just kept going on and going, deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole. And I was like, that's who I am. And I noticed that I embodied those characteristics naturally, right? Um, because that's the thing with a lot of women. I always say time and time again that women tend to mimic other women because a lot of women don't know who they are. And being within this matrix, right? Everybody has an archetype. All women have an archetype. Um, but a lot of times, they don't know to study that and to figure out, well, what is my archetype? What do I resonate with? What do I embody? What is innately in me, my nature? Outside of our, biological nature, but your nature as far as like the energy and the frequency that you're on, what do you carry? And you can find those characteristics within studying the archetypes, the feminine archetypes. And so once I did that, like I said, I realized that that was my archetype, the Huntress, right? Because I'm a strategist. I consider myself a war strategist. I do study war strategy. I study leaders who, like General Patton. I have studied his work. I study the art of war. As you can see, that picture I have with me holding a book. I'm actually reading it. It's not just for show, right? And I also study Robert Greene's work, the 33 Strategies of War. And of course, everybody studies the 48 Laws of Power. So those are things that I have studied and continue to study because I'm forever the student. And so that is how I came to realization that that is my archetype. And the other part of the name was just sort of like, I was like, I want to find something that just adds a little bit of like to it, right? And so that's how I found the other part of the name, Obscura Femenina, which is basically the dark feminine, dark aspect of femininity. So that is the energy that I embody. And the reason why I say that I embody the dark aspect of femininity is because from the base of feminine energy, it's dark because we represent the void. Because everything comes through us. Nothing comes here except through our wombs. And the womb is also the void, right? And so we represent that energy, that primordial energy of the dark feminine. Everything is in the dark before it comes to the light. You're in your mother's womb in the dark for 9 months. So everything that deals with us as a feminine, it starts in the dark. And people like to think that's bad, but it's no bad or good. That's subjective. I don't even deal with that. We're just dealing with energies. So I think that was, you said for my name. I think the next part was, you said a little about my background, right? Ideologies and stuff like that. My background, where I come from.
Yes.
As far as, okay. Oh gosh. Let's see. I started off like most of us. We start off with the Black Power movement, right? We get into the Black Power, the Pan-Africanism, that whole thing, going to hear Farrakhan speak and just all of those things, right? And the studies and just, so that is my foundation, right? But I took it a step further. I started heading into the occult, because I've always been attracted to the occult, to witchcraft and stuff like that, always, even as a child. So yeah, so see my sis here. So that's how I started off. And I was kind of riding that way for a while, and then I started heading into the occult, like I said. So I was studying like Bobby Hemmett and even Brother Panic, rest in peace. And so, just studying all of these different schools of thought, but getting really heavy into the occult. And then I found myself being drawn to the Luciferian path, which is, I am on the Lilithian current. And so I was initiated into that order, into the, as a Luciferian witch, I was initiated into that. And so then, but I'm so sorry, let me backtrack. Because it was kind of like happening at the same time, the occult and then getting into the Moorish history and Moorish science. Now when I came across that was like a game changer, because of course we started learning the real history of what took place here. And so that was like, that blew my mind. So I was heavily studying law and civics, the history, what was taking place over here, learning about the Constitution and how Congress went sine die and how that affected everything and brought in the Democratic Party. I mean, I just was like, I was going heavily into it. And so even within that, what a lot of people don't understand is when you're studying more science and more history, you're going to automatically, to me, I think you're going to automatically go more into the occult. And so those things sort of just kind of came together for me, and I've been going ever since, right? So I have kind of I kind of fell off with my studies as far as law and civics, but I've been kind of getting back into it. But I would say that, yeah, I think that that's pretty much how it was as far as like my background and where I am now, you know. So like I said, still a student of the occult, and yeah, that's me. That's my background. So
Right,
yeah,
right. Well,
yeah,
for all of my people who get their panties in a bunch when you hear the word occult, you understand if she said esoteric,
yeah.
right, we would be speaking the same language.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people kind of look at that word occult, and then they think about the word cult. You know,
Yes.
you're in a cult, you know, not realizing the um the they get into the connotative meaning. They
Mm-hmm.
leave out the word culture, right?
Right.
They
Right.
just look at the cult, and then they think about, you know, the various um how should we say, religious leaders that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
lead this pack of people to believe everything that they say is the end all be all, and they're the what, reincarnated Yahshua ben Yosef or Yahshua bar Miriam and things of that nature. So
Right.
I just want the people to know, you know, if we say a cult and we say esoteric,
Mm-hmm.
those are, you know, they have this same meaning. The word,
Yes.
those two words in particular. So I just
Yes.
wanted
Hidden
to put that out
science.
there,
Mm-hmm.
because I know we probably got a couple Jehovah Witnesses listening in at this moment, and you know, we probably have some of our Islamic brothers and sisters, whether they're what or Orthodox or
Yeah.
NOI or Sunni
Right.
or
Right.
uh,
Right.
how you say that, Shia, shit, you know what I'm talking about? So
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't even know. I know what you're talking about though. But I don't even want to mess up the pronunciation, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh-huh.
you kind of covered the background,
Mm-hmm.
the influence, and somewhat of the impact. But by the
Yes.
time we're done with this, you know, they'll clearly see, you know, the impact that you've had based off of your presentation. So
Yes.
we're gonna get
Yeah.
into it. We're gonna
All
really,
right.
you
Let's
know,
do it.
we're gonna
Yes.
definitely have to do a part two. This is part one, y'all. You
Yes.
know.
Part one. Yep.
Um, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the love, the marriage, the conflict, and the toxicity of some of these relationships that
Oh.
our brothers and sisters find
Mm.
themselves
Mm.
in currently in, by
Yeah.
way of standing on this imaginary foundation that doesn't exist. It
Right.
hasn't found self.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. So I guess for me, that goes along with what I teach women and what the work that I do with women. It's, okay, so I would say that I have been studying and kind of, I don't want to say deconstructing, but just really studying this whole concept of marriage, right? And looking at how it's structured in this construct, and it's very much it very much keeps women, excuse me, I would say it's not great for either party the way it is structured, but it definitely keeps women in a type of bondage, right? um so when we get into love, marriage, and conflict, and dealing with the toxicity in these relationships, I always say that before one enters into any sort of interpersonal relationship, it's so important that you do the work on yourself. And most people are not doing that. Most people are getting into these marriages as a form of codependency, right? I always say that two people are marrying each other so they can just dump their trauma onto each other. And the and I, and I also noticed there's like this weird, I don't know. It's like I actually said, I was talking about this on TikTok, and I said that most people get married so they can be each other's surrogate mother and father, and sometimes child and parent, right? So we have this dynamic where men want to be daddy, right? And they treat their wives like little girls, okay? And then it gets turned around because now you're taking on a different role as the son, right? So now it's like son and mommy. So it's like these roles that they're both playing interchangeably. You know what I mean? Like, it's like this thing for women. It's like we automatically want to mother men, and we're talking grown men, right? And then you have these husbands that they want to be the father, right? So they want to tell you what to do, and it's like you almost feel like you got to get permission just to do something, and it's like we talking about two grown people here. But it's like I have to come to you to ask for permission to just like go hang out with my friends over the weekend. Like what is that, right? And so I've just been noticing this weird dynamic that takes place in marriages. And it's like this thing where I always say that a lot of people get married so they don't have to do things that they did for themselves when they were single, right? Because it's like all of a sudden I don't know how to do these things. So I was doing these things before I got married, but now that I'm married, I don't know how to pay my bills on time. I don't know how to, go get dinner at the store. I don't know, I don't know what to eat. It's like all this stuff. It's like you were doing all this stuff before you got married. So I think that the reason why there's this conflict here is because most people do not know who they are. They haven't done the work, and they're just going off of what, the societal dogmas, religion, family, all of these things. And it's like you fall into this default. Oh, okay, I'm a certain age, I need to go get married. So you haven't done any work, no personal development. You don't even know who you are at your core. For most women, they don't know their archetype. All of these things that you don't know about yourself, but you're going to jump into something like marriage. And then we want to attach till death do us part, and we want to attach this forever thing to it. And so now that brings us into love, which most people don't even know what love is. Love is a frequency, and love is freedom. Love is it just is. But humans attach so many conditions and things onto love, right? And they use love to try to control each other. All of these different things that humans like to attach to love, and love is just love. It's freedom. And you can get with someone, and you can have this wonderful connection and all of these things, but eventually, like, one person may say, you know what, this was great, but it's time for me to end this chapter of my life. And when that happens, all hell breaks loose, right? And then a lot of times people are staying in them because they are afraid to say, hey, I enjoyed this. The lessons, we did this thing, we created certain things together, and we did all these things. But now I need to move on to this next phase in my life. And a lot of people, specifically women, are afraid to do that. They're afraid to go to their partner or husband or whatever and say, hey, I really don't want to do this anymore. And so we have this thing where you have so many couples that are locked into these marriages, and they're miserable. And then you hear people say to them, oh, well, just stay until the children get older. Oh, well, just stay. It's like all of these things that, these reasons that people are telling you to stay, but you're absolutely miserable. And you don't even feel like you can really truly be who you are. I always say that when one person wants to leave a relationship and one person wants to leave, one person feels rejected. And the person who feels rejected wants to hold on to that person. But is it really that person, or is it just the attachment to what that person represents? That person represents comfortability. They're there for me. They do all these things. I benefit, all of these things. But what about that person? That person, the core of who they are. That is who you are stifling. They want to break free, and you because you feel rejected, you want to hold on to that. And so that's where that's just one type of conflict, right? I think there's many conflicts in marriage, but when we're getting into when one wants to leave, like I said, all hell breaks loose, because most breakups are not amicable. One person wants to leave and one person feels rejected. And so, you got a recipe for disaster. Because you got children and they want to use the children as ways, they want to weaponize the children. I mean, it's, it gets to be, like I said, the way this thing is structured, it's not conducive to either party. But like I said before, for women, it's even worse, because the feminine energy, naturally, she's free, and she needs to be free to, it's because it's more of, like, cause so like with men, the masculine energy is more foundation, it stays put, right? But the feminine, she's like, oh, I need to be free, I need to explore, I need to do all these things, and so it's hard to kind of, when you're trying to contain that type of energy, problems can definitely arise. Because if she starts doing the work on herself and she starts realizing things about herself, one of the first things she's going to want to do is leave that relationship. I mean, you see it all the time. The statistics of women filing for divorce, it's really high. I think it's like at 60% or something like that. Don't quote me, but I think it's somewhere in those numbers. So I would say that, these conflicts, I would say they're rooted in people not doing the work on themselves, and then also what the narrative that is pushed on everyone to get married. For women, it's like, oh, you're not getting any younger. When are you going to have children? When are you going to get married? Oh, you've been dating this guy for 2 years. When are you guys going to get married? And it's like, maybe we won't want to get married, but it's like, it's like I said, it's not necessarily conducive, because, as I always state, most of these marriages are not rooted in divinity. So I don't know if I'm trying to think, was there something else that I needed to touch on, or something I was missing? Did you want to ask me something, or is your, because I could just go on and on and on. right.
That's what we want you to do, you know what I'm saying? I do, this is a topic that I deal with, I call it it's like a gender war that's going on.
Yeah.
That, as a melanated people, is not aiding us at all. It's hindering us, right?
Absolutely.
So, I talk about, you hear a lot of women, as well as, men, speak to the man leading you, and him being the head of the household, and him being the leader of the household. And, I always mention the fact that, again, within my household, in the areas that, in the areas where I'm not so savvy, right? Or maybe I'm, don't have knowledge in particular areas, that's where my man leads. And in the areas where I have the superior knowledge, those are the areas where I lead. So there are, two head of households, essentially. You know what I'm saying? There's situations where he leads. There's situations where I lead, right? It doesn't make sense for an example, if we're talking about things dealing with technology and 3D printing and laser printing, and the various facets of technology. Those are his areas of expertise, right? So in that case, that's where he leads, right? But if we're talking about things such as manifesting certain things. You see what I'm saying? I'm a little bit older, so certain things I have a little bit more of knowledge on. If we're talking about preparing certain meals, and nurturing and things like this and that, those are my strong points. Those aren't his strong points. So when you say, you know, well, the man is supposed to lead, again, yes, in his areas of expertise, but in
Yeah.
your area of expertise, that's where you lead at, you know,
Yeah.
to promote. Otherwise, again, it goes against the grain of progress for us as a people. I'm gonna give one more example, and then you give me, you know, your thoughts on it. Like
Okay.
we hear women talking about, you know, when they cook the food, they feed the man first. He's the provider or whatnot, so he gets to eat first before the children or whatnot. And
Yeah.
again, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just based upon the fact that, okay, it's me, um, my spouse or my husband, and we have 3 or 4 children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna feed him first because of who he is. And to me, again, that's asinine based upon the fact that those children are literally you and that man.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
can I say that I put the man before the children and myself, when again,
Yeah.
those children are literally you and your
Yes.
spouse,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
if I neglect them, I'm neglecting him and myself.
Right.
Like, to me, that just really never made sense, and it seems to always
Yeah.
go into um coming from, if I use the word Christian, understand that I'm still talking about Judaism and
Yes.
Islam, because those are
Yes.
really branches of the same tree, and
Oh
that
yeah.
seems to be
Absolutely.
where a lot of this um stupid shit come from. I'm just gonna say what it is. I'm not gonna even, you know, manifest some big
Right.
words like that. You know, I think we can all follow that, but
Yes.
that's my view on it.
Right. No, I totally agree. You know, when we getting into religion now, you know, of course, we're getting into the religious patriarchy, right? And that right there is, I mean, that's where they put the hammer down on women, right? You got that. So, okay, so dealing with the whole making my man's plate first and all this stuff. I mean, honestly, it, like you said, is so asinine, and I think it speaks to the mentality of it speaks to the mentality of both the supposedly adults in the house, right? And this goes back to, I always say that, you know, most adults they're infantilized, and this is why they need religion, because they can't govern themselves. This is why they need the government, because they can't govern themselves. So this fixing my man's plate stuff, to me, it's asinine, and it's silly, and it's almost like it's childlike. And to me, it's like, okay, when do we grow up? Like, it doesn't even make sense. You're at home with these children, you're doing whatever you're doing, you're cooking, whatever, you're preparing food. The children are hungry, right? This is a grown ass man. Okay, what is so wrong with, first of all, depending on how old your children are, y'all should be at a point where you can go in there and prepare your own plate, put your own food on your plate. Like, I do that with my children all the time. Like, depending on the mood that I'm in, I may serve them, but other than that, I'm like, you need to go handle that. So to me, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, if you're there in the kitchen, you know, if I feel like I'm gonna make your plate, I'll make your plate. I mean, like, it has become this really, you know, it's like trying to find something so trivial to focus on. You know what I mean? It's like, the point is just everybody eats. Everybody gets to sit down and eat. Whether you make your own plate, or whether I feel okay, I'll make your plate, or what. I mean, like, come on, like it. And when I kept seeing this showing up on my timeline, I was like, what? Like, who comes up with this stuff? To me, it's like, who even came up with that first? Like, who decided to sit down and say, hey, you know, let's discuss how, you know, I make my man's plate first, because that's how it's supposed to be, because according to, you know, religion and blah, blah. Like, what? It's, these types of things to me are rooted in patriarchy. We're dealing with the patriarchal structure here and how things are set up. And that is where that is rooted in. That's just one little small trivial area of the patriarchal structure. Because what it is, it's my sister's in here. What it is, it's like we're taking all of these little things instead of looking at, like it's like this I guess is a part of that whole programming and conditioning. And I don't even like to always talk about conditioning, but we can talk about that, I guess, on part 2, because I have some thoughts on that conditioning thing, right? But to me, that's just a small aspect of a bigger thing of patriarchy, because it goes back to that where the man is superior. We're given that narrative. The man is superior. The man is superior. So everything about him, it has to be first. He has to eat first. He has to do this. He has to do that, because he's superior. He's God. There's God, then man, then woman. And it's that whole thing. So those small little things are rooted within that. And like I said, to me, it's still very asinine and very infantile that people are even having these major discussions about it. It's like, let's deal with the root of it. Let's deal with why you think that. Let's deal with why that's so stupid. So we have all of these things that are rooted within this patriarchal structure. And so what's happening now is that since women are waking up to this now, it's causing such a rift, especially among so-called Black men and Black women. This thing has gotten so out of hand. I mean, it is like, it's insane. And what happens is, and it's when we're getting into marriage and stuff, right? Like, I have been called everything but a child of God on TikTok, because I'm talking about how this structure of marriage is not conducive to either party, but specifically women. And the bros, because that's what I call them, the bros, they're in my comment section spewing insults, like I said, calling me everything but a child of God. And it's just like, the fact that women want to free themselves from this particular state of bondage, y'all have a problem with it? I mean, let's think about it. You have a problem with someone wanting to free themselves. That's crazy.
Right. They have terms like New Age, right? When
Right.
actually what's being expressed, especially from your direction, are ancient, you know what I'm saying, values. We going back to what it was before the divinity of the Great Mother, so to speak, was stolen. That's why, again, all of these, what we're talking about, the big three, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, are patriarchal faiths or theologies or ideologies, if you will, where, again, we have, the men want a woman that's gonna submit. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about somebody that's Islamic. Far as I've read within the surahs, it says submit to the will of Allah. Right?
Yes.
Right. Again, within these households, for example, I'm in Detroit. I'm born and predominantly raised in Detroit, where the Nation of Islam was started. And I know quite a few sisters, you see what I'm saying, who are in the Nation of Islam, and their husbands, at the least, don't even, if their sister isn't within the Nation of Islam or Orthodox Muslims or whatever, they don't even let their women go grocery shopping with other women. Right?
Wow.
You can take the children, you and the children can go and y'all can grocery shop, but I don't want you around this woman and that woman, and
wow.
I be damn it, if it's a man, you really, you know what I'm saying? He can't call your phone. It's, these things have been embedded the same way that, many of us teach our children about Santa Claus. We know Santa Claus ain't real. You see what I'm saying? But generation after generation after generation, people still don't want to let that go.
Right.
Right. Again, Another example, if I talk about Jehovah Witnesses, right? Charles T. Russell, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you look at these melanated people who are referring to themselves as Jehovah Witnesses,
Yeah.
most of them don't even know who Charles T. Russell is.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And he's the founder of that particular denomination of what we call Christianity, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we can talk about the Mormons. We can, you
Yeah.
know, go further on. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we have, you know, the men having multiple wives, and you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some of these, and excuse me for being blunt, but some of these women are so incompetent that,
Yeah.
you know, when they get into this polygamy, polyandry,
Yeah.
however you want to label it,
Yeah.
you know, they'll say, well, that's something ancient that was done, and they never research it, right? First
Right.
and foremost, when I look at, for example, we have a high Arab population here in Detroit and in Dearborn, Michigan, and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And those men who have multiple wives, they don't live in the same household. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in order for these men to even marry one woman,
Mm-hmm.
there is a fee.
Yeah.
Right? We start talking about marriage being contractual, whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you have all of these Muslim brothers and sisters that love to call women whores and,
Yeah.
you know, prostitutes. But hold on, your husband paid to marry you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, and again, these Arab men aren't, they purchase, when they get a wife, they
Mm-hmm.
are obligated to purchase that wife a home of her own.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Divorce is rare, but it's not forbidden, right?
Right.
So if they just happen to divorce, that home belongs to her.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they're not going through divorce court and letting the state of Michigan,
Right. Right.
California, split their assets
Yeah.
down the middle. That's
Yeah.
automatic.
Yeah.
And for example, we can talk about the Empire of Washington, which
Yeah.
we are I'm a part of, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the stipulations. If you wanted to marry a woman, you had to buy her her own home. If
Yeah.
you all had the discussion of the husband having multiple wives, you had to have the discussion of the woman having multiple husbands. And
Yeah.
at that time, you know, brothers would, you know, kind of, no, I want to have multiple wives if she
Yeah.
can have multiple husbands. These are the things that when we talk about um, the indigenous, aboriginal, autochthonous Americans,
Yeah.
that is rarely mentioned. We'll talk about the sultans, you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying, or
Yeah.
whatnot, having multiple wives. But again, when we start talking about Islam, Judaism, and
Mm-hmm.
Christianity
Mm-hmm.
versus what we're unveiling here tonight,
Yeah.
those are modern beliefs.
Absolutely.
They're not ancient, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
with that being said, they took a little bit of this and a
Yeah.
little bit of that and a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of that, and they, you know, even if we're talking about Catholicism, we're
Yeah.
talking about, you know, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Hold on,
Right.
we deal with the ancient divine Trinity of Mother, Father,
Mm-hmm.
Child.
Yeah.
See, so people don't recognize again that the woman was eliminated from the ancient divine Trinity. Thus,
Yeah.
is the real reason, or one of the major factors as to why we have all this confusion going on
Yeah.
right now. So I
Yeah.
definitely want you to touch on that.
Oh, okay. So you know what? Is it okay if I turn my light on real quick? Because I think it's getting dark.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's
Step
fine.
away real quick.
Again, we're getting to the root, of the issues, and again, the toxic relationships.
Yeah. Well, I definitely wanted to touch on the submission aspect of it. Because I was really pondering on that not too long ago. And, I was asking the question, like, why is the word in and of itself applied to women? Right? When you just look at the word itself, You have submission, okay? And sub is under, right? And then mission, the mission, okay? And so then we're dealing with the word submission, we're dealing with subservient, all of these things, but why is it only applied to women? And so then I looked up the etymology of the word, and the word itself was not gender specific. It did not become gender specific until the rise of Greek culture and philosophy. So before that, that word was not just applied to women. But because of the implementation and the rise of Greek culture, which definitely is a part of the United States construct, how it, how it works. It's under, Britain and Greece and Rome and all rolled up, all three of them, right? So that's when it became gender specific, and it was only applied to women. And so I started really thinking about that. I said, why is this gender specific to women? Also, why is the concept of leadership only applied to a man? A man is not a leader simply just by virtue of him having a penis. That does not make him a leader. And so when you start looking at these things, and for me, I love to get to the root of things. That's like my thing. It's like, to me, everything has an origin. Everything has a root. Even the ratchet stuff, it all has a root origin to it. You just have to go figure out what it is. You got to start digging deep. You got to go down that rabbit hole. But I started looking at that whole concept of the submission thing, and then the concept of men being the leader and the woman is supposed to submit. And so I said, well, first of all, she's the one that's bringing the souls here. Y'all can't even get here unless you come through a womb of a woman, right? She's connected to source. Simply, she's connected to source because she has a womb, right? And and then of course we can just get into the strength and the spiritual connection that women have innately, and the nurturing aspect of it, all of these things that the feminine, she's phenomenal naturally, but you want to take that type of energy and make it submit to another human? That has to be discussed. We got to figure out, like, why is that? Why are we doing that? Why are we applying that to her? What is it about her that you have to apply it to? What is it? Is it her physical structure? What is it? Is it her physical body? Like, what is it? Right? And so asking those kind of questions, you can never really truly get an answer to it. That's why I looked up the word and went through the etymology of the word, because I wanted to know for myself, when did this become gender specific and why? And I really can't even think of a good why, right? Because, what is it? Because, like I said, because our bodies are, because we have breasts and what is it? Right? No one can really answer that. So because it can't be answered, then to me, I'm just like, okay, so if we're just going to deal with submission, we all have to submit at some point. Men submit and women submit. When you go on that job every day, if you're not working for yourself and you got a boss, you got to submit. Right? If you got to submit to the person that's just giving you your paycheck. You can't just come up in there doing whatever it is you're going to do and think you're going to be the boss over the boss. The boss is who's giving you your paycheck. So you got to submit to a degree. So making this only specific to women, that has to be, I think it needs to be debunked. And that's just, Now, you do have some women, because when we start getting into the pick-me's, you do have some women that are wholeheartedly with that, and I'm my man, and I'm going to submit to my man. Okay, fine. And you go do that, because there are women who are here to do that. Everybody has a role, right? But what I say is that there's like this separation. You have women who are here to usher in this divine matriarch. right? And then you have women who are, here specifically for men, to serve men, to submit to men. And that is their role. They're not here to do anything else but that. And so, getting to what you were talking about with the leadership aspect of it, that brain study that Dr. Amin did, he found that women are naturally wired for leadership. And so when we're getting into leadership, and like you said before, if he is well versed in something and I'm not, then I'm going to follow his leadership. If I'm well versed in something and he's not, then he'll follow my leadership in that particular area. It's not about dehumanizing this person or humiliating them or making them feel less than or telling them they're inferior and all this kind of stuff. No, it's just about, you're good at this, so I'm going to follow you. I'm good at this, and you're going to follow me on this. And that's it. Like, there doesn't have to be any sort of, making this one person feel inferior over the other, right? So, I'm trying to think, was there something else I needed to touch on with that? Was there somewhere else you wanted me to go with that?
No, you pretty much hit it on the button, right?
Okay.
Again, I have issue with some of the brothers, especially when it comes to the Hebrew Israelites.
Oh my God, not those guys.
Keep in mind, once upon a time, I was also a Hebrew Israelite, right?
Really? Okay. I didn't know that.
Yes. That's like, one of my foundations, right? And then that I found myself bumping head with my brothers and sisters who were, 5%ers out of the nations of gods and earths, right?
Yeah.
Like we, like it separates the Red Sea, right?
Mm-hmm.
When, you're within a company, we'll say, or a corporate entity.
Yeah.
And, this is for me within hip hop, where again, the majority of my brothers and sisters were 5%ers, and I was on my Hebrew Israelite real hard. We Israelites. I wasn't even saying Hebrew Israelite at the time, my beginning of it, but it resonated with me based upon the fact that, my maternal grandfather, was a pastor or whatnot, so, and what I was taught from 0 to 18, a lot of it, the way that my grandparents taught was more like a Hebrew Israelite than a Reverend Pork Chop or a Pastor Pimp, and I'll put it that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They made sure to always, make it a point to point out the fact that, they said Yahshua's hair was like lamb's wool.
Right.
Well, now in 2025, we know that hair is like lamb's wool, and anything outside of that is fur. You see what I'm saying? So they led me into where I ultimately, ended up. I'll just put it that way. Before I got deep off into the more science and anything post that particular era for me. So, again, when we deal with the Hebrew Israelites brothers, a woman can't even walk in front of them.
Right.
Women don't even have an opinion.
Right.
Most of the time. And again, you just express the fact that this comes from these patriarchal ideologies. Again, stole the divinity of the mother of the great mother.
Of the great mother, absolutely.
If for people like me who didn't just go by the book, in the book, I went by the book.
Yeah.
You understand? So there are various, because it's 66 books in the King James Bible. First of all, it's not a book itself.
Yeah.
It's a conglomerate of 66 books with many verses and chapters. And as you dig into them, you'll find that there were various tribes or clans who were still worshiping the Great Mother.
Yes.
Which is more proof that this Great Mother or this feminine energy predates a Jehovah or Yahashua. And you know what I'm saying? But
Yes,
again,
absolutely.
these brothers and sisters who are still following that one particular ideology, when you begin to mention these various books and chapters within the Bible that speak on that, they still remain in
Yeah,
denial.
yeah,
They look at their belly buttons and still
yeah,
remain in denial. They
yeah,
look at the fact that, you know, on a 28-day cycle, that you cannot point at another being on the earth who
yeah.
can bleed for
Yep,
7 days and live. Would that not
yep,
be God? You
yep.
see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's
Yep.
so many aspects that people they'll call you blasphemous, or you
Yeah,
blasphemy, but I'm showing you this in your own book,
yeah,
right? And in your particular doctrine, and you still are so
yeah,
I don't even like to use the word brainwash, but your brain is still
yeah.
so dirty that you'll go against your own doctrine
Yep.
in order to, you know,
Hmm.
spice or you know, have a reason to be hateful towards me.
Yeah,
Again, when I'm using your doctrine to show you these
yeah,
facts, like
yeah,
again, you gotta. They say Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
yeah.
Where's the mother?
Right.
Where
There would
is
be
the
no father or
has to
son if
be
the
a
mother didn't.
mother?
Right.
Yes, has to be a mother in that equation.
How did y'all get here? Right. And you know, that's another thing too. I find the whole thing interesting. How it's so easy to leave mama out. And again, how did you get here? So we're literally told that the very so we bring that soul here, that man, that masculine, the male, we bring the male here, right? And then we go through all of that to get them here. And then when they get here, we're supposed to view them as superior to us. How does that work? And so it's like and it's not even emotional. It's really just looking at things logically. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like I'm carrying this whole other being in my womb. And then I'm going through these hours of labor to get this being here. And then when they get here, they're superior to me? No. I'm not buying it. Okay, no, it's not. No, and like I said, it's not even about hating men, because that's another thing I've been told. You hate men, you're a feminist, and that's always funny to me. The bros, they love to call me a feminist. They love to tell me I hate men. They love to tell me I hate marriage, and I don't want women to be happy. Like all this stuff they say to me, right? And so it's like it's not about being a feminist. It's not about hating men. I don't hate men. I have a son, right? I have wonderful men in my life, so I don't hate men. But I look at things scientifically. I study science, and this is where a lot of people go wrong. A lot of women and men, they do not study biology. They don't study neurology. They do not study psychology. Like they really, I mean, they watch a few videos on YouTube. They think they know psychology, right? Or TikTok, where people are like basically self-diagnosing themselves. But I come from a place of studying the science and the root of things. So it's not even about, like I said, hating men or being a feminist and all this kind of stuff. Like, I hate when people, well, I won't say I hate it, but it's not something that, like, don't call me a feminist, please, because no. No. I mean, there are aspects of feminism that, yes, are great, right? The Credit Act, all of these things that took place during the feminist movement, I think that's great. But as far as the feminist mindset, wanting to be equal with men and all this kind of stuff. And like, I don't subscribe to any of that. So, but I just went off on a tangent. But the where did I leave off? So just so talking about, as far as like when we when we birth these souls onto the planet, and then we're supposed to automatically see them as being superior over us. Here, we going again into the whole patriarchal structure, and we're getting into phallus worship as well. That's a big thing. The phallus worship, especially among so-called Black women and that whole Black Power movement and all of those things, I think that was a way to implement, I guess, or bring on it because it's an aspect of a patriarchal structure as well when we're getting into that, because like you mentioned about the Hebrew Israelites and all of that stuff, and it's like y'all don't even realize you talk about the white man all the time and the devil this and he's that, but you are perpetuating and upholding his very system. When you put it to him like that, then they're like, the cognitive dissonance kicks in. I remember this one guy, one of the bros, he was like, Black people don't live under a patriarchy. And I'm like, this whole thing is a patriarchy. Like, what are you talking about? And so when we get into, looking at it from that perspective, like I said, they don't like that. The bros don't like that when you tell them that they are literally upholding and perpetuating the very system that they claim is, that's the white man and all this kind of stuff, right? And so it's like you want to keep your own women, you want to keep your foot on their necks. And you have so many, so-called Black women who, they're, like you mentioned about the being brainwashed. I mean, the cognitive dissonance and it's amazing to me. And it's like, y'all really don't think. Like, nobody's doing any thinking. Nobody's doing any studying or researching or anything like that. You're just going off of what you're being told, and you're taking it as Bible, and that's it. You're taking it as the gospel of everything, and that's it. You don't do any fact checking. You don't do anything. They tell you this, and that's it. And so for me, when I'm talking about the things that I'm talking about, then it's like, there's this, like I said, I'm being called all of these things, and it's like, and there's no emotion behind it. It's very logical, right? I'm very good at, knowing where to place my emotions and all of these things. And so it's like when I'm doing these studies and I'm bringing out this science and the statistics, there's really nothing left for them to do but to call me names. Resort to name calling, like I said. So it's quite interesting to see the climate and how things are taking place right now because of this rise of the divine matriarch. And it's not just about calling women queens and all of, like, no, it starts within. It's the inner work. It's who you are at your core. These are the things that are being awakened, and these are things that need to be awakened. So when we're talking about the divine feminine or the divine matriarch, at least for me, that is where I'm coming from, not this social media version of it, right? So I think that's it for that. Yeah, I think that was it for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much, we have a parity when it comes to, with all the information that people have at their fingertips by way of the internet, they still blindly regurgitate whatever resonates, with their with them. They'll regurgitate it. Like for 11 years now, I've been one of the only so-called conscious people, in comparison to my contemporaries who have made many attempts to stop our people from regurgitating the neo-Nazi skinhead
Yeah.
satire or propaganda, in
Yeah.
particular this lie that Michelle Obama is a man. Venus and Serena Williams were born men. See, people will see things on
Yeah.
the internet and they will just repost it,
Yeah.
right? And they will fight you to the end,
Yeah.
standing on something that came from our natural enemy, which
Yeah.
again, your neo-Nazi skinhead,
Yeah.
Ku Klux Klan, Proud Boys, and
Right.
the like of.
Right.
They keep, regenerating this lie about a
Yeah.
woman, regardless to how you feel about politics. I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of Michelle or Barack Obama, but what I
Right.
realize is if I have other brothers and sisters who are claiming to be conscious or claiming to be an American Moor or indigenous Aboriginal or autochthonous
Yeah.
American, regurgitating this lie, it
Right.
takes away credibility from all of us, which
Yeah.
is why I have stood on the fact of, you can find pictures of this woman, as a baby in
Yeah.
kindergarten, in
Yeah.
elementary school and middle
Yeah.
school. You
Yeah.
understand? You can find photos of her while she was at Princeton and Harvard and all of
Right.
these various universities that she attended.
Right.
But you still have people who are looked at as being scholars, which you are not. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? A
Yeah.
scholar examines both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
A scholar doesn't just go out regurgitating shit that they heard on the internet.
Right. Right.
Based off of the fact that you have some brothers and zero sisters, I would say, and I'm saying zero sisters when I say you have some brothers that have a larger following than me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're more popular than me. So if this particular so-called scholar or somebody who's supposed to have knowledge of self is
Right.
regurgitating this lie, and me as his sister,
Yeah.
is saying no, that's not true, then people jump on the wagon and
Yeah.
follow him and not follow the truth. And I have
Yeah.
a problem with that. Because
Right.
again, it takes away the credibility from all
Yeah.
of us when people are regurgitating things that aren't true, things that are easily rebutted. You know what I'm saying? It's easy.
Right.
It's easy to rebuttal to it, but
Right.
based off the fact that it feels good for some of us to shit on the Democrats and nuthead Republicans, like it makes no sense. People will
Yeah.
say things like, well, the Democratic Party was originally the party of the Ku Klux Klan, and after the Reconstruction era, you had predominantly melanated people were Republicans. Well, the thing is, that's very asinine for you to say when we look at what's going on today. You have Klansmen who are Democrats and Republicans.
And Republicans, right?
Klansmen inside of your Senate, inside of your Congress,
Yeah.
in your state police departments, in your local police departments, sitting as mayors, sitting as governors on both wings of the damn dirty bird.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But yet you'll have people who, try to come against me. Oh, you a demon crack. How about I don't deal with that, period. I don't vote for, either party. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They both are in debt to us, right?
Yes.
And they owe us a lot.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
They owe us a whole lot because it was some of our ancestors who allowed them to come over here and do commerce and trade on this land. They don't own any land. So all of this information goes together the same way when brothers start to bring up various treaties and try to enforce them without realizing that this is a matriarchal landmass, right?
Yeah,
meaning if there's any treaties on record, there should be a signature of a clan mother, and I don't see a signature of a clan mother on any of these documents, right? So at that point, I have to, be exempt from that, and then it makes sense as to why they're not working in our favor, right? You got your 1866 treaty, right? You got your Freeman's Borough. You see what I'm saying? But yet we still have these mongoloid people who are the ones who are benefiting.
Yeah.
And it's because, again, we haven't realized the fact that your grandma, who you keep saying, well, grandma told me I was Cherokee. Well, grandma told me I was black. Well, grandma's signature ain't nowhere on them damn trees. Nowhere.
Right. Makes sense. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So getting back, so when you talk about that, wow, like you take me back to when I really started studying on all of that. And so it's like I would have to, it's like I gotta go like way deep in there and pull that and pull that out. But yeah, I mean, like you said, we get into how, like you said, this is a matriarchal landmass, because we know that the inheritance originally came through the mother. And so when we had when these colonizers coming over here, and then they start implementing their patriarchal structure after they committed all this genocide, and now all of our ancestors are prisoners of war, now we can implement patriarchy, right? So now we can implement the way we do our women. We can do that over here now. And so then you have so many, we're talking generations and generations of this. And so now it has become a part of, like, it's a part of the DNA at this point. And so now you have so many so-called black men who are very much invested in the patriarchal structure. They want to be able to, practice that, I guess, with us. So they want to practice it in the homes. And so it's like, do you understand that your ancestors, the people that were here, the indigenous, the autochthonous Americans that were here, that was a matriarchal structure? The very people that you are talking about when you talk about, oh, my great, 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 great grandmother, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that was a matriarchal structure that you're talking about. This stuff that we're doing here, this was brought over here. That is the colonizer's structure. That was not our structure here. And so like you said, the oh gosh, it was one part that you touched on, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh man, what was that? Okay, it'll come back to me. But yeah, just everything you just got through saying, and like I said, it that whole thing, like it needs to be deconstructed. Like we really have to. Well, not everybody. I mean, those of us get it, we get it. But when we're looking at the way things are here, and in the way where things are headed, I mean, we got with the reproductive rights of women, and I mean, you just got all this stuff. And if women aren't the ones that are, wanting to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like the dismantling of this, right? If it's not women doing it, then who's going to do it? So it's like we live under a system where our reproductive rights and our reproductive organs are being governed by men, white men at that. But this is something that has been taking place since they came over here. I mean, it's like, I at the same time though, I get it, because you got so many women here who are so clueless, and they actually don't want to do anything. They don't want to govern themselves. They want to be they actually uphold it and nurture the very structure that is tearing them down. Like, you literally want to uphold and nurture a structure that is not for your benefit. How do you do that? And so, and like I said, it goes back to what I was saying, that everybody has a role here though. You got some women who, like, it's so funny. I was talking to my daughter the other day, and she said, Mom, they don't even have to implement a Handmaid's Tale type thing here. She said, because women are voluntarily being breeders and just pushing out babies constantly, just pushing out more workers. She's like, they don't even have to implement a handmaid's tale. She's like, because they're doing it voluntarily, you know? So it's like that, all of that still goes along with what the original topic was, which is love, marriage, and conflict, because these systems that we live under are being brought into the homes, right? So not only is the patriarchal structure outside of us and like hovering over us, we're actually bringing it into our homes. And everything, the foundation of society and everything starts with that family in the home. So if you're doing this in the home, and it's just going to spread out outwardly. So, yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Why
It
this
is.
part one, because you know we're like glossing over what the modern mind frame can kind of grasp.
Yeah.
You see, I'm putting photos up,
Yeah.
books that people can actually pick up and research themselves.
You know, this one I've never heard of.
Okay.
Look, I've never heard of that. I need to get that. I never heard of that.
It's a lot. It's a lot, you know.
No,
without even talking about the parthenogenesis and things of that nature, because we start to get into those type of topics, you know, people, their comprehension and their attention span is not even long enough to even deal with that. And in this current age and time, based upon the GMO foods that we eat, the pollution in the air, you know, a lot of these things hinder us from maximizing upon who we really are. Let alone the fact that, you know, these things get called junk DNA. And when we start talking about the pineal gland, it's like, oh, most people pineal glands are calcified. No, your pineal gland is mine is not. Mine works just fine. My third eye is fine.
Exactly.
Have to draw the dot on my forehead or nothing like that. We already know what it is, but you know, they use terms like ignorance of the law is no excuse, and well, it's bigger than ignorance of the law. I was trying to explain this to an elder earlier. The fact is, we're up under a regime that creates over 100,000 different acts, codes, or laws, if you will, on an annual basis. And I always mention this. Even Johnny Cochran never claimed to know all of these statutes, acts, codes, i.e. laws, because there's millions of them.
It's like, how could you?
It's impossible.
It is. And that could, you know, it's very you know, because there's so many, and that's done by design, is to keep you confused. Because it's like, once you start, you know, researching one thing, then it leads you to the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and then you got to go back over here, and it's like, and all of that is done by design. And we know that things were not that complicated. Okay, it couldn't have been. So, like you said, they're creating these like every day, right? So it's impossible for a person to be able to master all of that and to know that. Right. And like I said, that's done by design, because, you know, it's like, well, there's a code for this and there's a code for that. But if you use this code for this particular document, then you're not going to be able to use it for that document. So then you got to go get that document. You see, it's like this whole thing. And so it can be very discouraging if you're really wanting to study this thing, so you can, as we always talk about, you know, correct your status, do all these things. Right. But it's like, you got to know where to go first. And I know for me,
Uh-oh. Let's see. We lost you. We don't hear or see you right now. If you can hear me, sis, you might want to tap out and tap back in, because we no longer have your audio or your visual. And, you know, we knew this was coming. We absolutely knew, you know, it would come to this based upon their algorithm and what it picks up on, you know. doesn't want to let things out that need to be out and, observed and viewed and heard by all of us. Again, we don't clean this mess up, we gonna have all kind of problems. We already got all kind of problems. We're not gonna be able to have any remedy or recourse if we don't begin to repair, what y'all call reparations. Reparations comes in, a multitude of fashions, right? It's not just about monetary. It's not just about, her name is still there, but we don't see her or hear her. So I'm going to tell her to tap out and tap back in right quick and see. Yeah, we gonna get her back. And again, this is just part one. We're gonna do this again for sure, because my sister on the West Coast had, there we go. Okay, we back. Hey,
I mean, so I guess
the show, we knew this was gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
We knew they was gonna boot you out. You see what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. They let algorithm work in favor of, again, what's popular, and this is not, the popular topic out here. The popular topic is those that are talking about Diddy, and those who are talking about Jeffrey Epstein and Donald J. Trump, things that we touched on years ago. Like, a lot of people are just not finding out that, Donald was best friends with Jeffrey for years. So they partied together, and these are things like this stuff. Again, if you go back on our YouTube channel, you will see years ago we already touched on this topic. Years ago, I was already showing a video with what's her name? Maxwell, however you say her name.
Oh yeah. I know
She was at the party with Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. You see what I'm saying? But yet she's the only one to be convicted. Trump is in the White House. He's sitting in the Oval Office, and she's sitting in prison for 20 years. And Jeffrey Epstein is deceased.
Right.
So this is the stuff that people want to talk about. But again, if you want the facts, because I don't deal with the fake information, the satire. We put the facts out.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's satire and all that stuff. Yeah, I can't stand it. And I wanted to touch on real quick when you were talking about this thing about Michelle Obama being a man and Venus and Serena and all of these things. And, I always, again, for me, it's always like, okay, where are you getting this from? Where is the actual proof and evidence? How do you know that? What are you basing that on? Like, how do you even actually, how do you know that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how? Have you seen things? You have no way of proving this. You're going off of their anatomical structure. You're going, all the way their bodies are built. That's what you're going off of. And we know that we have women. I look at Venus and Serena as the descendants of the Amazons that were here. That's how I see them. I did not think one time, I think those are some dudes. Like, that thought never crossed my mind until I started hearing people say it. When I first saw them, I was like, oh my God, I think they're the descendants of the Amazons. So this is what warrior women look like. They look like Venus and Serena. They look like Michelle Obama. So where is your proof? Like I said, have you seen things to be able to even prove that? Or are you just going off of what you say and what they look like, right? So, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Very disrespectful. Very disrespectful to attempt to take someone's sex from them. Like, just to even, I can understand somebody having a thought, but again, my point is this: when we go back to the early 2000s, when Serena and Venus was whipping the hell out of them white girls at the Wimbledon, all of us were rooting for them. Even if you're talking about the grassroots conscious community, you didn't hear Dr. Bill Valentine, you didn't hear Bobby Hemmett, you didn't hear none of these teachers, none of these so-called master teachers call these girls men,
Right.
right?
Right.
But post or during, a post
Mm.
Obama winning his first term in the
Yeah.
Oval Office, that's when all of this information comes out and you guys start regurgitating,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Again, if we are these top-notch scholars and you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and
Yeah.
these master teachers, how come we wasn't saying that in 2002, in 2001,
Right.
in
Right.
2000? How come it didn't come about until after
After.
the inauguration again of Barack
Right.
Hussein Obama into the
Yeah.
White House,
Yeah.
right? All of these rumors about he doesn't have a birth certificate. Bullshit. I've posted it multiple times. What people need to
Yeah.
really brush up on a research.
Right.
This racist satire has a root, it has a source. And
Absolutely.
once you find out what the source is, then you need to throw that shit back in the same racist garbage can that you got
Right.
it out of.
Absolutely.
Regardless to how you feel about Barack as the CEO of said corporate entity.
Right.
The same way it is Donald J. Trump's job to make the wealthy wealthier. That was Barack's job. That was both of the Bush's jobs.
Yep.
That was Reagan's job. Their job is to make the wealthy wealthier.
Right.
It is not to do a damn thing for you,
Absolutely.
me, or any of us. Whether I could be sitting here as a multimillionaire, is no comparison to a bloodline who has became trillionaires, right? As a whole. When we look at that national debt that's at 30-something trillion right now, they running it up because this fiat currency system, it matches their physical policies. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with that being said, and they know that they owe us, they gonna run it up. If someone has given you an unlimited black card or whatnot, you gonna run it up.
You gonna run it up, right?
Whether you feel like you're gonna be able to pay that debt or not, as long as it is unlimited and you can continue to create policy, you understand? This is what they've done.
That's what
that's the answer to the question at the end of the day, and the fact that is a bloodline. Barack Obama and George W. Bush are second or third cousins,
something like that.
Long bloodline of you having to go all the way back to Europa or England or Britain specifically. Like they knew that they was gonna be president when they was teenagers. They already knew.
Exactly. They groomed them from very early. Yep.
They're very early on because they're part of that bloodline. The same way. And I know my people probably tired of hearing me say this, but a fact is a fact.
Yeah.
Donald Trump said he was going to put Hillary Rodham Clinton in prison, right? Yeah. He was going to have Mexico he was going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. Yeah. Did he do any of that?
Right.
So what sense did it make for so-called melanated people to join in and ride the jock of this blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man? I don't care how cool, how rich you think he is. He's not on your team.
Right.
He did not lock Hillary up like he promised because that is his cousin. Right. Get on your Google any and every damn thing I say. Yeah. Look for peer review. You see what I'm saying? Yes. Look for reputable sources, right? Yep. If they say this, they can be sued and held liable. Yeah. Hillary is his cousin. It was no way in hell he ever was gonna lock her.
Put her right.
The same way is no way in hell if there are any more files from Jeffrey Epstein released that they're gonna release any more that's already been leaked that shows the connection in between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Mm-hmm. We've already done that work for you. Yeah. So we want to stay on our side of the fence and deal with the relationship in between our men and women and try to make some repairs, come up with remedy and recourse as to where we can make things better for our heirs and our descendants. Because currently, at the moment, passport boys or passport brothers, talking about they got to go outside the country when again, not only is it enough melanated women here in North America for them, here in North America, we have the most educated, college educated women of all women in the world right here where
That's
we are.
That's why they want to go over there.
They want the
That's
dum-dums.
why they want to go over there. Because to me, that's these passport bros. They just trying to go over there and it's not genuine. It's really not genuine. They don't want a woman who has a brain and can think for herself. That's why they're going over there. Not saying that those women can't think, but I'm saying they want to go over there and try to finesse these women over there. A lot of them don't have anything. They don't have families and stuff. A lot of them are like throwaways, basically. And so they want to go over there and be on some like pimp shit. That's what they trying to do. And it's not genuine. It's really not. And I don't give these men a pass. I mean, I don't give women a pass either. But my work is with women. So I'm going to be I'm going to give them a little more grace. Because we have the womb, right? So there's a whole lot going on with women. But I don't necessarily give them a pass either. But like I said, I don't give men a pass at all. Like, to me, if you as a man, especially so-called black men, they love to always quote Elijah Muhammad when they say, oh, no nation can rise higher than its woman. Okay. Then why is there so much conflict between us? Why is it so hard for you to allow, why do you want to, what is this thing about black women need to submit and we don't care about her degrees and she's too educated and she's too smart and we don't want, like, what is all that? Right? But you want to quote and say that no nation can rise higher than its women. If you want to look at the state of a nation, look at the state of the women. I mean, that says it all. So, like I said, I don't give them a pass. As I said before, I have some wonderful men in my life, and these men that are in my life, they actually talk to me about men's deplorable behavior. So I know I'm on the right track. Now, and I always like to say, if it don't apply, let it fly, right? But when I'm discussing things like relationships and marriage, conflict, all of these things, and really having the, what I want to see is women free themselves so they can thrive. That's my work. And for men who can't see that and don't want to grasp that, and they just want to keep women around for the benefits because women are a natural resource, they want to keep you around for the benefits, it's not really about you. Those type of men, no, you don't get a pass. You come, like I said, they be in my comment section talking all kind of whatever, and depending on what kind of mood I'm in, yeah, they can get it. I have no problems, right? So it's like, I'm for women. I am for women freeing themselves. I am for women not being in bondage. If for them to free themselves and to thrive and to take themselves out of these messed up marriages and relationships, then that's what I'm here for. Women who are ready to do the work on themselves, ready to dive deep, get into the core of who they are. That's what I'm here for. I'm not one for the gender wars and all of these things. Like, I'm not a perpetuator of that. I'm not perpetuating divisiveness or anything like that. Like I said, my work is women. And men need to go do their work. They have their own cross to bear, and they need to go do that. I think that they need to stay out of women's spaces so women can do the work that they need to do on themselves. But I think women need to stay out of men's spaces so they can go do the work that they need to do on themselves. I'm not saying that I'm against relationships and marriage and all of these things. If a marriage is rooted in divinity, I'm all for that. But most of these marriages and relationships are not, because most people are codependent and they're infantile. and all they're doing is dumping their childhood traumas and stuff on each other. I always talk about so-called black men. Lately, I've been talking about their mother wound that they really need to go deal with. They need to dive deep and heal that, because when they come into my comment section talking all this crazy shit to me, I always say to them, go heal your mother wound. You're here because you want my attention like you want mama's attention. Go sit on your mama's lap and go find out why you so messed up and go heal that mother wound. Get out my comment section and go do the work. So I don't know where that came from, but I had to just put that out there.
Facts. And, you know, I hear a lot of, you know, the brothers expressing things such as, you know, well, we don't get the praise and, you know, the recognition and these are things. It reminds me of when you're potty training a baby, right?
Yep.
If the baby, you know, goes to the pot and we say, oh, we start clapping and stuff.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
We're adults. You know, you don't get kudos for being a father, right?
Exactly.
That's your role. The same way I don't get kudos for changing diapers and burping and nursing and things of that nature, and you know, paying for tuition for my son to go to private school. As a parent, this is what is expected of me.
Absolutely.
I'm not for a praise for anybody for being a parent. Like you made this to bring a child into this world, whether you're doing it as a single mother or a single father, right? And I just, you know, for me in particular, I had a neighbor who I grew up with that was like an uncle to me. His wife left him when his boys were 2 and 3 years old. Literally walked down the street, walked to West Chicago Avenue and took a bus back to her own neighborhood and left him with his children. So on Mother's Day, we would give my uncle gifts, and on Friday, on Father's Day, he would get gifts. So to call somebody like me who calls a man on the phone on Mother's Day and says Happy Mother's Day to him, and then a month later calls him on the phone and says Happy Father's Day, that don't sound like some feminist who hates men to me. If on a Mother's Day, I'm calling a man and saying Happy Father's Day. Like I've seen these things actually happen, although it's rare. What I noticed as a teenager and as a young adult, he has a set of twin sisters, and they didn't do any of those kudos. You understand? They would let him know that that's your job. You see what I'm saying? That's your job to take care of those. You see what I'm saying? So they weren't the ones calling him on Mother's Day talking about Happy Mother's Day. It was us, because again, that's a rarity that a man is to be a single father. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because it happens, you know, more often than not. You see what I'm saying? But again, you took part in that intercourse that created those children. So say that, God forbid, or ancestors forbid, your wife passed over. You are going to have to rear and take care of those children. But in most cases, the aunties and the grandmothers usually fill that void. But when there are no aunties and no grandmothers to fill that void, you are left with that responsibility. But to get extra kudos don't make sense, because if we do DNA tests on those children, those are your children. The same way if their mom was there. But again, we know that predominantly women get left with that responsibility. A man can walk away after intercourse and conception has happened. Right? And you know, again, you were talking about the reproductive rights. Like, okay, that happens, and then you have 9-10 months of the carrying of that child, right? So if a woman decides, this is not what I want to do, although I'm not pro abortion, but at the same time, understand this is something that woman is left to bear. And in some cases, some women mentally aren't prepared to become mothers,
Right.
and based off of those emotions and
Yeah.
their feelings or whatnot. A
Yeah.
lot of times they end up miscarrying that baby.
Right.
These
Right.
things happen,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And the one
Yeah.
thing I want to say this, and I'm gonna yield the floor back to you.
Mm.
The most influential teacher in my lifetime, peace be upon him, was Bobby Ill.
Yeah.
When he passed, he was the highest ranking jujitsu black belt person in the world,
Yeah.
internationally, not just on a national
Mm.
basis. When
Wow.
people would come to get this more science from him, because he would
Yeah.
teach Monday through Saturday to whoever was going to listen, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People, when he, started talking about, well, Jesus was actually married and Jesus actually had children, and
Yeah.
in the Bible would say Jesus was a rabbi. Well, a rabbi is, by way of custom, has to get married and have children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when he would be explaining these things to the people, their question would always be, well, if what you're saying is a fact, then who is God? Who do we worship as God? And
Mm-hmm.
Bobby always said, your mother. He didn't say your father.
Yeah.
He didn't say Father, Son, Holy Ghost. He didn't say
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh. He didn't say Allah. He didn't say any
Mm-hmm.
of that. He always said, your mother. And
Yeah.
if you had a question after that, he would take you down through that rabbit
Yeah.
hole to
Yeah.
give you the knowledge that you didn't have. So again,
Absolutely.
this is the person who taught more science, we'll say.
Yeah.
So I'm getting this out of Moore's teachings, then why do we have all of this asinine activity taking place online? What I
Yeah.
need the people to realize is a lot of these so-called scholars that deal with more science that you are
Mm.
following, they are trying to keep a following.
Yeah.
They don't give, and they will say anything. They
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
And my beef with them is I'm making you accountable for what you say. So if
Right.
you're saying things like Michelle Obama's a man, I'm gonna hold you accountable to that shit,
Yeah.
right? I'm
Yeah.
gonna put $1,000 on the table and tell you, let's debate.
Yeah.
You believe Michelle Obama is a man, then with that being said, being that the documentary that said that about her also stated that Venus and Serena Williams were born males, then you would have to cop to that as well. So put
Yeah.
the money on the table and let's go at it.
Right.
Thus far, it's been
Absolutely.
11 years. Nobody has put $1 on the table to debate me
Right.
about the topic. All I
Right.
get is a bunch of hate. Oh,
Yeah.
you supporting the Democrats, and the Democrats support the rainbow and all. No, 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 no. I'm only dealing with the facts.
Dealing with
I'm
the
from
facts. Right.
I'm from the grassroots community. And
Yeah.
with that being said, we were held accountable
Yeah.
for what we said. In
Right.
this internet age, people aren't being held accountable for what they
Right.
say. So they
Right.
say whatever is popular within the algorithm in
Mm-hmm.
order to keep their following, in
Yeah.
order to keep those YouTube checks coming in.
Yep.
I don't do that. Which is
Right.
why, again, we're starting over here at this particular channel,
Yeah.
and my thing is moving slow, but it's
Yeah.
moving. And I would rather it move slow and be moving with the facts, not with the false,
Right.
because I'm willing to be accountable for what I say. And thus
Yeah.
far this evening, nothing that came from you is non-debatable. You see what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
all non-debatable. If it was something that would be up for debate, it would be so many people in the comments talking shit. But we don't have that issue because, again,
Yeah.
we can be held accountable for what we
Right.
say.
Absolutely.
Versus people who are dealing with fairy tales and
Right.
telling you to close your eyes and put your hands together and all of this other stuff
Right.
that the energy is from within, right?
Absolutely.
And we have
Yeah.
to connect it with one another in order, again, to manifest our goals. Outside of that, you have a bunch of people, you might as well be in Mecca, bump your head up against the wall. Like,
Yeah.
that don't look real. That doesn't look like, I don't think a scholar would do that. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like it's you look stupid. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Yeah,
You're trying to get
absolutely.
the people on the right track.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said. And, you know, and what I'm finding is a lot of these, um, scholars, like we call them, right? The ones that are on, these social media and stuff like that. And what I'm finding is a lot of them are not really, and it goes back to what you just said, but a lot of them are not truly integral about this work. I mean, they are really about the followers and, monetizing. And I'm not mad at you for monetizing, but I'm just saying it's like, it's not truly integral. Like, it's like they're presenting themselves as really being about this work, and then you find out that that's not really the case. You find out that they're actually charlatans, and it can be disheartening for those who really want to get that knowledge and information. But that's when you have to go offline. You can't just watch people on social media and that's where you're gathering most of your information. You have to actually go offline and open up a book, right? Do some research, and then once you do that, then you're taking that in, you're absorbing that information. And it takes me back to what I always say, when people want to argue with me about things that I say, I always say to them, you're arguing with source. Because not only have I done the readings, not only have I done the studying, but I receive information, right? I am connected to that divine feminine, the goddess. I am connected to that. I receive information from mama, right? And so what you're doing is, when you're arguing with me, you're arguing with source. So I'm not even going to get into a whole thing with you. Now, if this is some sort of platform where we're going to sit down and have some sort of a debate or discussion, whatever, that's different. But when I'm on here and I'm speaking and I'm coming from source, I'm coming from my heart, I'm coming from what I've received, my mind, the intellect, all of these things, I'm not going to argue with you. You're like, again, you're arguing with source. And there's no argument with that. So yeah, like I said, I wholeheartedly agree with what you were saying. And, it's, like I said, it can be disheartening when you find out that a lot of these so-called influencers and stuff on social media are really, truly, they're charlatans. And they can have their shit looking so good that you are like, dang, like, they really know this. They're really about this. And then you find out it's all BS. Quite disheartening, to say the least. So, yeah.
You pull back the curtain and see the Wizard of Oz.
Absolutely. Gotta keep doing it. It's like, you pull that curtain back and that fool go right back behind you. You gotta keep pulling that you gotta keep pulling that curtain, like, nah, we see you. You can't keep hiding, we see you. Yeah, you gotta do that though. Yeah.
Bananas. They be about that YouTube check and that Instagram little money order.
Yep.
Yeah, they be on that QAnon and just nonsense. Like, how can you listen to somebody who is verbatim repeating something that is outside of the realm, again, of a grassroots community? When we talk about college community, none of our teachers, or none of the Dr. Ben wasn't talking this shit.
Right.
And not to say that everybody who comes from that particular community is sincere with their teaching. We found that to be false as well.
Right.
But even if I, for example, Dwight York, who we know what Dr. Malachi Z. York, like, it's a ton of proof to prove that he deserves to be where he is currently at, right?
Yeah.
I will get people screaming to the top of their lungs coming at me.
Oh yeah.
And for the most part, a lot of these people don't predate me within that movement, right?
Yeah.
I go back to 1991. all the way up until current date. Like I was reading man books when I was in middle school, right?
Right.
Some of the terminology that I still, the first time I heard the word Ashkenazi, right? Ashkenazi, excuse me, or Khazarian. I heard from him. But again, just because someone is very knowledgeable doesn't mean that they're righteous. I had to learn that the hard way.
You have to learn, right? And that's exactly what I was saying. You learn it the hard way, and as I said, it can be very disheartening. But it's like you have to, you take that information, and you're like, okay, I did learn a lot, so let me just deal with that, and and so it's like it goes back to we connect with. We connect with those that we see as like, our teachers or mentors or whatever. And, we connect to that. And so, when you're under this person's tutelage and you're studying and you're doing all these things and you're learning from them, that creates a connection. And, and when you find out that they're not who you thought they were, that's like, dang, right? So it's a lesson though, because it's telling you that, hey, as much as you connected with that person and the information, as much as you learned, they're still human, and they're very flawed, and most humans are led by their ego and all of these things. So it's like you have to just take that information, absorb the information, and make it work for you, but you can't really have those attachments to the person themselves. But we all have to learn that. I had to learn that. You had to learn. We all have to learn that. So, yeah. But like I said, it can be disheartening for sure.
It's donuts again. Me and my spouse, we were talking about. He was talking about this particular group of Masons who has been on him for years, trying to get him to, initiate into their organization or whatnot, and telling him how, if he does, then certain business ventures that he has will soar up under their tutorage, or however you say that, right? But he's always refused it, and he talks about the Masonic rituals or whatnot, and them blindfolding you and telling you to drink out of this cup, and in the cup is, and I'm like, look, you could, you can still deal with that organization, and when it gets to that point to where they blindfold you, telling you to drink off the cup, you just don't drink it. You already made all the money. He like, no, those are like some of the first steps. That's so when you join, and it disgusts me, because I think of all of the brothers who I know that are part of the various Masonic orders who I went through those rituals, and it's it's worse than you leaving your drink at a bar to go use the bathroom and come back and still drink the drink. Like, you don't know what's in it, right? So it's you've read all these books to tell you that they make the men drink somebody else's semen or whatnot. It's like, this shit is crazy. It is just it's
things that these men do in these initiations are just, oh my gosh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
The average person wouldn't believe it. Just by me knowing what I know, like, I don't put nothing against these people based on the fact that the average person who doesn't have the type of knowledge of self that we have, the minute you start talking about the various Masonic orders, the first thing that they'll point out is, well, that's an Illuminati, and when we hear Illuminati or the illuminated one, that's the one with the light, the one with the knowledge. So we're on the other end of the spectrum with it, and we're not able to even relate to these particular people who are still on a mundane level of knowledge anymore. It's like, I don't even talk to you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
You think the God is devil and the devil is the God, when you the devil and the God. You know what I'm saying? It's like they don't rock with us, and that's
right.
But
Right.
again, I don't expect the brothers and sisters who have an abundance of knowledge of self to be following all of these lies that are perpetuated online.
Yeah.
You know, is following Trump. Peace be upon him.
Yeah.
Kevin Samuels. You know, people will pick and choose what they
Yeah.
want to listen to.
Right.
This Aunt 601 or 607 or, you know, I done fell out with a few brothers because
Yeah.
a lot of people listen to this Aunt guy.
Yeah.
But I see so many videos of him talking about your booty and your booty hole. Like, what kind of man talks like that? What kind of man follows
Oh my
another man
God.
always talking about someone's butthole? And I mean, this guy he's been on
that's
he done House of Consciousness and all of that.
Wow.
He's like the, I guess, the gangster Charleston White. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I just feel as though we're looking at these particular people who have become millionaires off of saying just any damn thing.
Yeah.
And being that you know, people like you and I refuse to walk that walk. We take the long journey.
Yeah.
Because we're standing on truth versus again somebody who just says anything that's crazy.
Right.
And then get 100 million views, you know, and their name becomes popular or whatnot. And I'm like, this is what y'all actually listen to? This is what you follow? This is what you want me to put on my channel? No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We absolutely aren't doing that.
Yeah, I mean it you know, again, it goes back to integrity, you know, and you know that let's say is integrity doesn't pay the bills, right? But no, it's like you know, I always say that, you know, for me, I always say I'm at the end of the line because, you know, I'm not here to, you know, say things to get people to like me. I'm not here to make people like me. You know, I'm here just to, like I said, to work with women. And, you know, I'm very much integral with my work. I always say this is my divine assignment, and that's what I'm here to do. So, you know, it's not going to be, like you said, it's, I'm not doing things just to, you know, get clicks and, you know, just people to follow me and all of these things. I mean, hey, if you want to follow me, you know, because I do produce great content. And like I said, I'm here for women. So that's what I'm here to do. That is my divine assignment. And I mean, some people are going to rock with that and some people aren't, you know, and it's like, we have to, you know, it's like you have to be comfortable with where you are, you know, you stay in your lane and do what you do. And, you know, what they say, if you build it, they will come. So, you know, you'll find your tribe, and your tribe is your tribe, right? So, yeah, again, you know, I agree with what you just got through saying 100%. So, yeah, it's all about the truth and the, you know, the integrity of the work. So, yeah.
Yes.
My children are turning around here.
Yeah, you know, you have zero issues with being accountable for what you say, and I appreciate that so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
it you know, we have something that we can stand on that predates, you know, any and every other popular form or platform, if you will. Again, if I look on Sunetta TV and I see Ankh 607 or 601, it just lets me know, you know what I'm saying? You just following the algorithm. This guy done been on DJ Vlad and all of these other, you see what I'm saying? And none of them give back. None of them are giving you anything that you can't find on your own.
Yeah.
You know, not to say the things that we're speaking about you can find on your own, but if they're not a popular topic, then for the most part, people, it's not just their attention span, but their interest. It's like, if you're ignorant to something, then, you know, how can you be guilty? You just didn't know. So when we put it on a plate and show it to you at that point, you can't say that you're ignorant to it. Because again, if you can believe somebody who's, talking all of this, you're supposed to be a man and a gangster, and you're talking all of this homosexual stuff, like, if you follow that, come on now.
Like I'm side-eyeing, right?
I'm sorry, I apologize for keep picking that up, but again, currently he's the most popular hot thing. It was first it was Jaguar, right? I mean, it was Charles White, and then Jaguar, right? And now is this guy.
Yeah.
And on top of the stuff that he say is crazy. He's not the most he's not easy on the eyes at all. No. So for me to be able to pay attention to that is like he mixes in some knowledge of self with some of the things that he says. For the most part, a lot of what he says, if I was a man, I wouldn't listen to him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He said you can't. There's no difference in between a vagina and booty hole. As a man, how could you listen to that? But this, again, right now, I'm sorry, sis, but I have to get this out. Because I've had discussions with, again, some of my contemporaries and some of these conscious people who supersede me in views and likes and things of that nature. Although I may predate them in a realm of knowledge of self, but they give excuses. They want him. They would prefer to have him on their show than to have you. And to me, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
That is moonwalking away from goal, in my eyes. So I just had to bring that up because, again, I know people can relate to that. You and I may not, again, I haven't heard a bunch of this guy videos, but by becoming popular, I've been forced to listen to some of the things, and the most popular things that he says are the things that I just mentioned. So again, I can't imagine a manly man sitting and listening to this guy talk for an hour or 2 hours. Just like I'm forced to not respect you at that point. As a woman of my age and my stature, like I'm not gonna respect that. Right. And I don't have a problem with expressing that. So, I have my ups and downs. I can be up here as far as views and likes. And then when I say something that's brutally honest, it's like, you messing with her. And I don't mind.
Right.
I don't mind because I fed those who need to be fed. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You can say the information is not for you, but honestly, what you're saying is truth is not for you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, truth, it stands alone and it hurts. It's very triggering. So they don't want to hear it. But, some of us are truth tellers. We're here to tell the truth, and, that's why we're here. And, it's very triggering. You get to a point where you've done so much work on yourself, and you continue to do the work on yourself, right? I'm always doing the work on myself, and so once you do that, you can stand on that, and you can bring that truth, and people aren't going to like it, and they're going to be triggered, and they're going to be saying all these things, but you've done so much work on yourself that you're like, okay, what else you got? So yeah. So I think that's my sis in there again. I'm so glad. Shout out to Reverend Sahaka.
I'm so glad you're familiar, and I'm not the only one familiar with this guy, because again, my spouse listens to some of his lectures or whatnot, because he's on, like I said, he was on Sarnetta channel, and that really freaked me out.
So serious? Sarnetta's channel still around?
Yeah. He still has multiple channels. He has the House of Consciousness. He has the Sarnetta TV. He still does his thing. So I
didn't know that, because I stopped. Like I fell so far off from all of that. I stopped following. Like, I wasn't really. Well, I guess kind of following a little bit. I had my times, I guess, but I stopped listening and watching so long ago. I didn't even know that they were still around. So that's why when you said, I was so surprised by it. I was like, wait, they still out there doing whatever it is they're doing, So it's just crazy. But for them to even still be around, that says a lot about you know, they obviously still have an audience. So that's kind of like,
It's like debate night every night instead of it
yeah.
being debates sometimes, being that
Mm-hmm.
debates are online now. They're not renting out the Apollo and
Okay.
you know the
Mm-hmm.
various venues in Harlem or whatever to have a big
Yeah.
debate like they had in between Sarah Seti and Dr. Aleem El Bay. It's like every night his show it is a debate.
Oh my God. They don't have nothing better to see, and that's another thing. It's like y'all don't have nothing better to do but to just keep debating each other. Like, what is that? Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was lit. I'm not gonna hold you. We're gonna have to do this again.
Oh yeah, part 2. Absolutely. Yeah.
So part 10 all the way up to part 99. You see? For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And like I
Yeah, for
said
sure.
again, you know, build these brands and you
Mm-hmm.
know, get the people to again, I learn from everybody. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people who I see a comment or somebody, you know, is anti this or anti
Mm-hmm.
that. Like I'm not gonna block you, I'm not gonna delete you or
Yeah.
none of you know, because I don't know everything, right?
Right.
I done been
Right.
through multiple schools of thought, but
Mm-hmm.
I've never been the one to be like, I know everything, but if I
Yeah.
know something, I'm gonna stand on it. And I know that you're not
Absolutely.
gonna be able to, you know, rebut it. And what
Mm-hmm.
reason would you have to, except minus the fact that you're stuck in that particular chamber of knowledge and you didn't grow.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
want the people to grow, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is great. I mean, you have a really great platform here, and you know, I'm really glad and honored that you asked me to come here, and you know, because you know, you and I've been Facebook friends for a while now, and you know, I know that you know you always come with the great knowledge and information. So and this is, you know, like I said, this is such a great platform that you have here, bringing this information to people. So, and it's so needed. And so yeah, I would definitely love to come back and, you know, do a part 2 with you. It'd be fun. I have some more information. I always got something. It's always something brewing. So
No, I know
always.
this is
Yeah.
like 1%. You see what I'm saying? Which is
Yeah.
good.
Right,
Which is
right,
good.
right. Absolutely.
95% of BS. So to give
Yeah.
them 1% of something good is great. And I'm
Yes.
sure they appreciated it. But if it's anything you got upcoming that you want to
Mhm.
plug, you want to, any invites or things of that nature, definitely. And you want to give out any email
Mhm.
information or any upcoming interviews or anything that you
Um,
drop soon.
let's see. So right now, is I mean, you know, people can find me on, you know, on Facebook, on TikTok. Um, Also, you know, I'm the work that the main thing is just the work that I do with women. So I offer right now I'm having one-on-one coaching, offering one-on-one coaching for women. I also have what's called the cipher with that. It's all of this is on my website, Magic Mama, and you can find me there. My link and everything is in my bio. We're on. Oh no, this is okay. No, I was thinking we're on Facebook. But yeah, so the what I had, you know, the work that I do with women, I offer the one-on-one coaching, I also offer courses. I have some things coming up where I'm going to be teaching women about the feminine archetypes, and that's actually going to be a course, and I'm going to have a digital book to go along with the course as a companion so they can work through it. It's a workbook. And so those are the things that I'm working on. So right now, you know, it's I don't have any interviews and stuff coming up right now. So the main thing is the work that I'm doing, and like I said, everything can be found on my website. They can also find me on Facebook at Huntress Obscura Femenina, and they can also find me on TikTok under Huntress. And that's where I am. And anybody want to get in contact with me, you know, again, they can message me on Facebook, on TikTok. I'm still working on Instagram right now, so that's still kind of up in the air. So if they want to get with me, get me on TikTok or Facebook. And I think that's about it. Yeah. Oh, well, I do have my email set up as well. The email, but I don't. Well, I guess I can still go ahead. It's magicmama@blackcauldron.net. So that's MAJICKMAMA at blackcauldron.net. That's my email address. So, you know, if they want to email me there, ask me about courses, anything like that. So that's where they can find me.
All right. Well, we love you and appreciate you over here. And we'll be doing to the audience, you know, letting everybody know we'll be doing this again soon.
Okay, absolutely. Yes,
we'll
definitely.
Together we'll build again and come up with another topic, a part 2 or whatever. And,
okay.
You know, let it rip.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Empress. We'll see you again soon. And to everybody else, we say peace.
Peace. Good night.
Supreme
Shock.
They say I'm dope, I said I'm smoke, fire, blowing air, carbon, earth, solid, water, wet. I'm steady beat, a sister soldier that dies effects. So gone with all that hoopla and rah-rah. Unless you talking about Atun, Namuna, Amara, pineal glands, all see your eyes. We call the third eye. We came to build, not pay your bill. Sling them in the municipality, city seals like roadkill, descendants of ancient mound builders. Not supposed to need encyclopedias, genetically encoded with 720. We got amnesia, claiming we Christian cretins in love with Yahweh, Muhammad, and Jesus. But you was living inside of God when you was a fetus. But believers and never believers, non-believers, cause we don't be lying, shaking hands and taking oaths.